Hi, my name is Penny Vandermolen. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be channeling Saint Germain, the Ascended Master. I asked for whatever is most uplifting and true at this time to bring the greatest healing and ease into our lives, and so that's my intention. Yeah, we'll see what he has to say. So I'll just get into my state of openness, and then I guess we'll find out what he wants to share. Hello, great beings of light. It is my honor and deep privilege to be here with you today. So what our channel has decreed and decided for this first channel of her channel is healing and upliftment for all who view this video, which I find to be a very worthy and profoundly beautiful message for today. And so the message that I bring forward today through Penny, this channel, is one of upliftment, yes, and one of truth. What I have seen in you and what I have for you today is the peace that comes from knowing that all is well. And this is regardless of what you see around you. This can be very difficult to reconcile in the third dimensional mind, and so it can seem like nonsense. The case is this: what you see with your third dimensional survival mind is an illusion. It is like looking through VR goggles. That is a nearly exact metaphor or analogy here. You are looking through goggles of fear at a constructed reality that has nothing to do with what is real. The spiritual reality is far more quote-unquote real than anything that you have created or dreamed up in this third dimensional illusion. And the third dimensional illusion specifically dictated by the survival mind or the ego mind. There are many words for it. And so what I am here to share with you at this critical juncture in humanity's progress is that it's all an illusion. And that is meant in some ways to take the wind out of the sails of the ego mind. The ego wants lots of drama, lots of tension. It likes a good soap opera, essentially. It wants things to be scary and uncomfortable because then it has a job to do. It has a one-track mind. It only knows how to do one thing, and that is to save you from physical danger. That's it. It cannot handle emotional, mental, or spiritual topics of any kind. It can only handle effectively physical danger and or physical survival in terms of finding food and shelter and things like that. Now, in this day and age, for most people, or even many people, not all, for many people in this day and age, that is already handled. And we would even say that for those who say that it is not handled, we would tell you that it is. You are simply not seeing it. And this may seem a confronting thing for me to say, but listen closely when I explain. It is all handled because it is all an illusion, and any imagining of danger or lack or not enoughness is a result of those third dimensional VR goggles that I spoke of. And so for those of you who look at your life and say, I do not have this, I do not have enough, I do not have food or clothing or shelter for me or for my children, what I would invite you to say, what I would invite you to see is to look at your life and notice how you have always prevailed. From every moment, from the beginning until now, you have succeeded. And so it is not about you figuring it out, because it has never been you figuring it out. Your ego mind has never once had the solution. Your spirit has always been the one to know, and it is when your ego mind gets out of the way that things suddenly start to click into place, so to speak. And so if you look at your situation and see yourself in a lack of safety or a lack of stability, simply notice what is driving that sense of lack. And we would tell you that it is the ego-mind addiction to drama and trauma. This is not in any way meant to blame anyone, for that is never, ever the way of spirit. Instead, it is an invitation to sink deeper below that layer of consciousness that the ego would try to keep you trapped at. The layer of survival, the layer of what if, the layer of worry and anxiety. That is survival mind, and that is, to an extent, obsolete at this point in human evolution, especially as we humans evolve into the greater mechanism. Maybe that's not the word. The greater evolution, the more evolved humans. This survival mind will have less and less space to operate, and that is a good thing. And so notice how often the survival mind wants to keep you trapped in the past, wants to keep you trapped in the way things have been, and to tell you that that is the way they will always be, which is a lie. That is always going to be a lie, because in every single moment you have infinite options for how this next now moment will look. Okay, so he's asking me to come forward. This is Penny again. He's asking me to come forward and talk a little bit, like maybe redirect the conversation, ask a question. So this is something that's come up for me a lot, is focusing too much on the third dimension and essentially asking the third dimension to tell me how to feel. And so what I would ask Saint Germain is what is the most effective way or tool or teaching that he can give us to break free from that paradigm? And I would say in the way that brings the greatest ease and joy, because that's always my goal. So let's see what he has to say. My dear ones, that is a perfect and beautiful answer and question. I know that is out of order to you, but to me it makes sense, and you will see. For that is precisely what we are moving into. But to reiterate, that is a beautiful answer and question to ask at this moment, and I will share with you my perspective on the topic. And so what I am bringing forth in this moment is the fact that the answer comes before the question. You have asked me collectively through Penny what to do essentially when you feel trapped by the third dimension, giving you information that seems very real. And I would say to you, the answer has already arrived before the question is asked. So look not at the past, but at your present moment. For the moment that you become aware of yourself asking the question, the answer has already arrived. And that may look any number of ways. It is not about the mechanism. I want to redirect your attention from looking for the answer in the third dimension, in the physical, for that is exactly where the question came from. The physical world does not have your answers. It has a pathway to walk, it has information for you to see, but it will never have your answers. Your answers come from spirit. They come from the innermost part of you, that part of you that lives in your heart. And so in practical, linear terms that make sense to you, I will explain this. From the moment that you become aware that the third dimension is giving you information that you do not like, that is the moment of power, because it is a moment of awareness. The very most effective and easiest thing that you can do in that moment is to take stock, to notice, that there are things in your world that you do not like, that you might be in resistance to. Do not resist the resistance, just be conscious of it. Hold it in your awareness like you are simply holding an egg, very lightly and gently. You do not crush it, you do not squeeze it, you do not try to change it, you just hold it. In that moment that you become aware and you hold this awareness like an egg, now you search within for the answer. And this is where many people strike off in the so-called wrong direction, for this is the moment that they search for answers outside of themselves in the third dimension. So in this channel's life, there might be an experience where she has someone outside of her tell her something that is scary or disturbing or infuriating. And this is a possible example in anyone's life, but we are using our channel for now. In that moment, that is the moment of awareness. I do not like this. I do not like that. I do not like the way it makes me feel. I do not like this experience or this emotion. That is awareness. That is the first step. And so in that moment of having that awareness, what actually is happening is you are shifting your point of power away from the third dimension into the self. Because if I am aware that I am noticing it as information, it no longer has power over me. And so in this moment that it is coming at me, so to speak, or coming at this channel, I would stop, become aware, I do not like this sensation. Thank you for the information. And now turn inward. What do I like? Because now I have clarity on what I do not like, and so now that clarifies and eliminates some possibilities for the true question, which is, what do I like? And that is where the answers come from within, and that opens up a whole new pathway of inquiry. And this is where I explain to you how or why the answer comes first, and that is that who you are at the core will never change in any significant way. Now that may sound strange because we are taught to change who we are. We are taught to progress and grow and change and become better, and that is all directed at the third dimensional you. That has nothing to do with your spirit. You are already perfect the way that you are. That will never change, and you will never need to change. You may change what you choose to experience, and that is wonderful and worthy, and that has nothing to do with changing who you are. You may choose to change how you express yourself. Wonderful, also a worthy endeavor. That does not have anything to do with changing who you are. Who you are is a divine expression of the Creator. Period. That will never change. And so in that moment of knowing, I am a divine expression of the Creator, I am not in alignment with this expression that I am experiencing right now. This does not feel good or in alignment with me. What is in alignment with me? And that is where you shift your attention and focus away from the third dimension that is showing you information, and you shift your attention firmly onto, what does it feel like to be in alignment with my Creator, with my divine creation, with the expression of divine creation that I am? What would that feel like to be clear and in alignment with that, and then move from there? And so in the third dimension, what that may look like is removing yourself from a situation, changing your attitude towards a relationship or a choice. It may look like saying yes or no, or turning right or left or up or down, any choice. What you do in that moment is you make a choice and you move, because the simple awareness is really all it takes. The third dimension shifts around you. It is not creating you, it is the other way around. You are creating it. And so as you become aware that the third dimension is showing you things that you maybe do not prefer, what you do instead is thank it for giving you information, shift your focus, shift your attention, and cast your vote for a different experience. For your attention is constantly creating your next moment of now, your reality. And everything you pay attention to is a vote that you cast to develop the next now moment. And so I would like to address a lot of the resistance that comes up around this topic, especially in terms of those of you who have had the experience of feeling like your free will was overridden, maybe as a child or in other traumatic experiences, and what this can often do in the mind and emotions of a child or an adult experiencing this third dimensional experience is it creates a resistance to anything, even good things, maybe even especially good things entering into your space. And so my words may create resistance in you because there is a part of you that feels automatically as if I am attempting to override your free will by telling you this, by introducing you to something new. And so there's automatic resistance that pops up to preserve you from that experience ever happening again. And so what I would say to you is in order to gentle that resistance, in order to resolve it, speak to it. Speak to the resistance itself. Tell it it is no longer necessary. Tell it that its job is done, that you see it, that you hear it, that you feel it, that you appreciate it, and then simply point out to it that circumstances have changed, that now it is no longer doing its job. In fact, it is somewhat getting in the way. And so in order to best serve you, for that is truly what it wants, it simply must let go and see what happens. For some of you, it will work immediately. For others, it may take time. But simply notice what happens in your body when you address that resistance kindly, like a small child. And so for right now, I'm feeling that this is a good place to pause this conversation for another video. I thank you greatly for your time and attention, for that is the greatest gift you could give yourself in this moment. And I bid you adieu, and we will talk soon. Wow, okay. That was cool. Just as like a little recap, I'm really grateful he brought up that thing about moving past resistance, because that is definitely something I've experienced. Like everything that he was saying about being in resistance to good things, and maybe even especially good things, is very much from my own experience. And so the idea that I'm like, just from like what he was showing me and what I was getting from kind of the inside, was this feeling of giving it another job, of like, thank you resistance, thank you whatever, you know, that part of me that has constantly felt in danger of being overridden or of being like forced into something, or, you know, whatever that might be. It is to approach that part like a small child and simply relieve it of duty. And so that's really cool. I'm gonna experiment with that. Anyway, so thank you so much for watching. My intention is that you guys get some kind of value out of this. This is my own personal channeling journey, and I'm having so much fun with it. And so I'm putting this out there with the intention that those who would benefit from it find it, and that we can go on this journey together. So thank you so much. Thank you for watching. I'll talk to you guys soon.